So that's one thing that I was thinking about when I was reading the Matthew. Jesus was the straightforward, in the spirit, good man. And he spoke with authority because of the Spirit of God. But you know what? The disciples didn't know about that. They were still in the flesh. They were still walking according to the traditions of man. And, you know, Jesus didn't mince around with words. But the important thing, like he says, is to love one another. See, that's one thing. When I grew up I was a teenager in the 60s and early 70s, and there was a lot of good things back then. I recently went to saw the Doobie Brothers play, and they came right out with their Jesus, the Jesus song. Jesus is my friend. And I thought, wow, man, this is amazing. Because at that time, what they called the 60s movement, they accepted Jesus, man. That was cool. They liked Jesus. And some of them had other things, and some of them went off. But those that were looking for that new world, that the hippies were talking about, or that people, John Lennon, Imagine, another world. It was in the air. It was the feeling, and that was really a threat to the establishment, you see, because it was anti-materialism. And what do you have today? You don't have peace, you don't have love, but they fill you with all their goodies that they ran around the world and killed people and killed women, killed children, killed men so they could steal their minerals and all their things so they can be rich. And what do they offer you? They wanted to kill the hippie movement that were just wanted to live in the woods, and teach love one another. And what do they replace it with now? They hated that. They wanted to say, well, we got to feed people all this materialism. That'll keep them happy. And does it keep you happy? It's worthless. I fool around with these computers and stuff because it's there, and but man, what I yearn for is the spirit-filled people who know how to live together and enjoy life. That's the good thing. And you want to replace that with gadgets? They're worthless. I mean, if you don't have something good in your life related to the spirit and love amongst people, those gadgets are nothing. They're garbage, That's what the Apostle Paul said. I count all things as garbage. All the other things, and when I found the excelling value of the Christ, all the other things have become like refuse. So yeah, that's just and that's what it was. Jesus. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention too. Jesus was just a regular guy. When they said, "Master, which is the greatest commandment?" What must I do to gain life? And Jesus says, you know the commandments. Do those commandments and you'll get life. And he said, but which commandments? Which commandments? And then Jesus named 5 commandments. That's all. People say, oh, it's the 10 commandments. That was the law of Moses. Jesus mentioned 5 commandments. What was it? Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not commit adultery. Do not bear false witness. And honor your father and your mother. Those things. It says, do these things and you will get life. So that's what we do. That's what we have to do as Christians. It all sums up in love, man. Because if you love your neighbor, you're not going to try to get his wife. That's not love. That's wickedness. That's thievery. That's adultery. That's sickness. It's pain you're causing people. No, but you love your fellow man, and you recognize that he's the head of his family, and he's taking care of his wife, and you want to encourage him to do that, man. Do a good job. Take care of your wife. What kind of a sniveling punk would try to get in there and mess his family up? That's disgusting, you know. And to do no murder, yeah. But also to love your enemy as yourself. I mean, to love your enemies, you know. So we don't engage in warfare for any nation, just as Peter didn't engage in warfare to save Jesus Christ from the soldiers that came to get him. You know, if we're not to protect our king, then certainly we're not going to go to warfare to protect the corrupt interests of businessmen and wicked nations of this world. You know, that's not Christian. Even though you know, it's in God's hands. God is taking care of it. And even though there's, you know, like the movement to come back to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the right to bear arms and all that, I mean, that's good for them, you know, but for me, I don't do that because I'm not Christian, you know. I don't take up any weapon against my fellow man. And the scripture in Acts, it says, abstain from blood and things sacrificed to idols and from fornication. And, you know, those are some of the necessary things. But the blood it's speaking about there, and from things strangled, you know. That means like animals that haven't been bled properly. We don't eat the blood. But when it says abstain from blood, it's like when John the Baptist, when the Pharisees came to John the Baptist and said, the soldiers came to John the Baptist and they said, "What must we do?" And John the Baptist told them, "Do violence unto no man." They were soldiers, but they were to do violence unto no man. You see, so Christians, even more, disciples of Christ, are to do violence unto no man. We're sheep. We're sheep. We don't threaten people in a physical way ever. We might speak to them very strongly the truth, and they may react in a physical way. How many times have I gotten punched in the face? Many times. You know, many times. Just a couple of years ago was the last time I can remember. And but all through my life, I've been punched in the face for not being afraid to speak to the truth, and people really their hatred boiled over and poof, right in the face, you know. But I don't go out and fight them, you know, back. I don't try to get revenge or reciprocate, you know. Probably the most angry I've become is at someone that was very close to me that betrayed me. Then, well, that was the only time I got angry. But some stranger that hits me or somebody that hardly knows me, how can I get angry at that? They don't know what they're doing, you know. Like Jesus said to the soldiers, they don't know what they're doing, obeying orders or something. They don't know what's really going on. But when you know somebody intimately, and you see how deceitful they are, or how wicked they are, or how traitorous they are, after you give them so much of yourself, so much of your love, yeah, even to a woman I'm thinking of, you know, and then they betray you like that, man. Ooh, that really hurts, especially when they've wasted so much of your time leading you along, only to find out that they haven't been real, haven't been true. That hurts, you know. Somebody was asking me recently, a good brother on the internet tell me about the problems with his wife, you know. And this is something that I was reading in Mathew that caught my attention, because the disciples came to Jesus and they said, well, I don't know, what is it? He talked to his disciples, but it was one of the teachers of the law or something. The Pharisees, they were trying to trick him, you know, with the scribes of the Pharisees. They were trying to trick him. You know, they started coming in on him. And, well, I forget the exact words, but they asked him, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause? And Jesus Christ said, did you not read in the beginning how he made them male and female and joined them that together so that two are no longer twain but one flesh? Therefore what God has yoked together, let no man put asunder. And then they said, well, how come Moses prescribed writing a document of divorce for the woman? And Jesus said, yeah, Moses, because of your hard-heartedness. allowed you to do that. But from the beginning, it was not so. How much pain there is in divorce. And when you love somebody, you never want to leave them. And the love should grow, you know. It's like we have a mother and a father, and you can't get another mother and father. You just have one of each, you know. And you're not married to them, but when you pick out a mate, that's why you should be careful. And his disciples came to understand, such is the case with between a man and a woman. It's good for a man never to marry, because you know she could change and stuff like that. He says, except for fornication, you know, you shouldn't divorce your wife. And they said, well, it's not good enough for a man to marry. And Jesus says, well, he didn't argue with me. He says, well, yeah, but not all men can do that, you know, except for those to whom it is given. For there are eunuchs that are born eunuchs, there are eunuchs that are made eunuchs by men, and then there are eunuchs that make themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of God's sake. He that can make room for it, let him make room for it, you know, because it's a difficult thing. I never found a woman that could go that far with, you know. We tried to, you know. I tear my heart out, you know, to try to show somebody how much I love them and how far I was willing to go to give my life for them. You're not going to find much love like that, you know. And, you know, I've seen men treat women horribly, treat them unfairly, deceive them. And I never do that. I never do that. And I never did that. You know, I was always honest and treated them like a princess, you know. And yet, they didn't value that because they wanted to fit in with the world, and I didn't want to fit in with the world. I want to stay with the Bible, you know, and keep the principles. God is so good, you know. So then it's better that I end up alone, because I don't want a woman trying to take me away from God all the time. It's a big fight. It's a big struggle. So I had to cope on my own, even though the hormones were raging and things, you know. You have to find a way through that with God's help, you know. And, yeah, and I knew another girl one time that I was starting a relationship with. And then she finally told me that, she said, if you want to stay with me, you're going to have to stop preaching about the Bible. You're going to have to stop preaching about the Bible. And what could I say? I had to accept it, you know. That was her ultimatum. And I knew right from that point that we were finished. And sure enough, we finished pretty shortly after that. You know, even though I loved her so much, and I tried, you know, you just can't throw away God for a woman. You can't worship a woman. The man is to be head, a wise head, take good care of his family, man, and to love them like nothing else, you know, to give so much love to his family, and to love his children so much. Oh, I wish I could teach children. I love children, you know. I saw children today in the park, and they were with a Christian camp or something, and they said a little poem to God, you know. I thought, wow, that's good. They're teaching the kids, because kids so quickly believe in God. They so easily believe, you know. And when I was little too, I believed in God, you know, just a little boy. My mother would teach me to pray, and I prayed every night to God. And, you know, it's so good, you know, and women are just turned by Satan into this world. I don't know why they can't see it, because women are delightful, you know. They have so many good things that men don't have. You know, and they're so close to their feelings, and they have so many delights in their heart. I can see it, you know, but I just stay as friends, and it's better. But I can see I love women, you know. John loved women. A man has a natural inclination to love women because he wants to protect them, because he sees the horrible things done to the weak, and women are weaker than men. So the natural thing for a man wants to protect the woman and love them. I feel love for women in my heart.